Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. Thanks for joining the sesh with me, Justin Barone. I hope you're having a good day, good week, good month, good year. I hope that life is being good to you. 5 years ago, I started this podcast, Thoughts Off the Stem, when the pandemic was going on because I had nothing else to do. And I thought, I've always wanted to try radio and television broadcasting. And I started with some audio just to see, if people would like it. And initially, people did start to like it. Now, I didn't get up to thousands or hundreds of thousands of views per month or anything like that. I get I think per month I get a couple hundred maybe. And I thought, this might be a new thing for me to do after the pandemic. My first year, I put a lot of effort into it, and I learned a lot of different things and the evolution. Well, if you watch the podcast from the first one all the way out, you could see the evolution of the technology and the products and the things that I had to introduce to make a quality recording, right? But initially, I just started on my phone, and I talked to my phone while I smoked joints and got high. It was fun. I had nothing else to do. And then because the pandemic was going on and we had COVID-19 happening, I got a few people interested. And now we're 5 years in, and I figured, we should do a little check-in. So this is where the podcast is actually at. So on Spotify, we've got over 600 listeners, followers. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's awesome. I know a lot of people be like, that's not very many people. I don't care, man. I do this. I think initially I started off with this grandiose plan. And over the years, I've been humbled to think that and see how things are for real. It's tough to get people to listen to you, and it's tough. You have to be entertaining. You have to do, different things to make this thing work and become something that people are interested in. Now, like I said, I've only got about 600 listeners on Spotify, or just over 600 listeners on Spotify. I've got about a couple hundred people that watch some of the stuff on YouTube. Not quite. I have 194 people on YouTube that subscribe to the channel, which again, I appreciate all of this because as much as I want to think that, I had this big, grandiose plan and wish for it, it's not mainstream. That's fine with me. I like the fact that it allows me to be able to say anything I want to say. And the whole purpose of this is to have it started off as having a little sesh with your buddies, just hanging out, shooting the shit and saying, ridiculous or silly things sometimes. And everything I do on here is not because I believe everything I'm saying or everything that I'm talking about. I'm doing it because I want to make you laugh. There's too much chaos in the world for people not to laugh and have a good time. Everybody deserves to laugh, right? So I think that since the outset, because it started in the pandemic and it moved, I kept it going from there. The whole intent has been to just get people to laugh and enjoy the day. I know a lot of the stuff on here is really stupid. I talk about poop a lot, dude. But that's where it started. And now I'm at this point where, I've got some people that follow and I really appreciate it. And I figured it was time in the 5th year to check in with people and say, hey man, I appreciate you. I appreciate that you follow along. I appreciate that you listen. I appreciate that you don't shit talk me because there's a lot of people online that shit talk me. Holy crap, dude. It's kind of funny because a lot of the times the people that shit all over whatever it is you do are people that really don't do anything of their own anyway, and they expect you to be all butthurt because they said some mean shit to you. I look at it this way. When I first started the podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to get people to pay attention to it, maybe listen and see where I could take it, right? And a lot of the response was positive. I don't think I got really any negative responses. And over time, I think that makes you delusional to think about how good you might be at something, So you have this overly optimistic view of how things go, and you need to be brought down a little bit. So when you start getting hate, it brings you back a bit, right? And in the first few years I was getting nothing but positivity, which is great, but then it makes you think like, well, why isn't this going anywhere? Why isn't this doing what I want it to do? Why are there not millions of people paying attention to me? Because that's a bad way to think. And I could see how fame grows, gives people a big head and gets them disconnected from reality, right? And I think that first year I put a lot of effort into it. I exhausted myself mentally and emotionally just because you want something so bad, And then the second year, I ended up getting a job after the pandemic had sort of opened up doors and stuff. So I didn't have as much time to pay attention to it. So I was just kind of doing whatever I could, whenever I could. And then in the third year, I was managing a pot shop, or assistant managing a pot shop, and throughout the third and fourth year, and that took a lot of my time. So I ended up not having a lot of time in this. So people that look at my situation and say, well, you're 5 years in, you have 600 listeners, and you got a couple hundred people on YouTube, you've got just under 600 people on TikTok and Instagram that listen to you. You're not doing well, man. This is not a good thing for you. It's not going to work out. But here's the thing. I don't really care. I don't think. I did at one point. I really cared at one point, to the point where I was stressing myself out all the time, which is stupid. You want approval? Like, I don't really want approval. I just wanted to see if I was good at like essentially hosting a radio show, right? And throughout the years, I did things that like I probably shouldn't have done right away. I probably jumped the gun a bit and, put the cart before the horse. I started doing merch at one point, and that failed miserably. Everything I've done in this has somewhat failed miserably until the last like 8 months or so. I lost my job, and I've been trying to find another job. I've actually been trying to up my education. So I started taking a project management course on Coursera. And I'm just about done that. So I'm looking forward to having a certification for that, because when I was managing a pot shop, I noticed that one of the things that I think that I'm good at, and that I enjoy doing, is putting groups of people together that succeed at a task, right? So project management is that 100%. So I thought that's a good thing to do, and that was something that I would like to do. So I'm working on that while having fun with doing this. So I put this into like hobby perspective. So I just have fun with it. I've learned a lot about obviously editing. If you go from the first episode to now, the editing has improved a bajillion percent. It's especially in the last probably 4 months, I think I've dialed in the audio and the video, at least in the last, for sure, 3 or 4 episodes. So seshisodes. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that have come a long way, but I also think that there's a lot of delusion when I started this, to think that, oh, you're going to be this amazing podcaster that everybody loves. Maybe not, probably not. I'm not, 5 years in. But I also thought, technically, I can't really say, like, okay, you know how they say that if you're trying to start a business, if most businesses succeed in that 5 years, right? And if you've hit year 5, it might be time to wrap it up. So I have, like, my aunt tells me this, my dad's told me this, people around me have said this, like, it's time to wrap it up, dude. And it's like, I don't really want to wrap it up. Like, I just needed to put the podcast and the work and effort into it in perspective, right? Like a lot of things in life. So I had to sort of record a bunch of stuff and then sit for like a month where I didn't have to do anything with the podcast, and become okay with the fact that it's a hobby. Right? So that's where I'm at. It's just a hobby. I'm just trying to have fun. All I want to do is make people laugh and forget about the crazy chaos that's going on in the world today. There's too much chaos for people. There's too much crazy, essentially, for people to not have a good time and laugh. And I've noticed that as I've been sort of like building and working on this thing and attempting to try and do better and improve it, you got to listen more to your gut than you do learning about shit. Because like a lot of people will go to Google. I used AI for a long time to try and figure out what to do and how to make this like a profitable thing and make it, move it from hobby to maybe work, right? Or my job or my way of attaining a living. And I realized as I was doing it, I was getting so caught up in AI just telling me all my ideas were amazing that I was only putting stuff together. I wasn't doing it for like this actual show. I was like for the content. I was doing it for like titles and, descriptions and like tags and hashtags and all that stuff. So I was spending all this time doing that. And I noticed that when I started going with the AI stuff, it wasn't working as well as when I was just doing it myself, and trying to come up with the right thing. So I took a step back and I was like, I want to make it better, but I have to look at this more like a hobby than why like putting so much pressure on the achieving financial success with it, right? Which is, I think everybody needs to learn that lesson at some point, that not everything is going to be a thing that you're going to do for a long time, but this is a hobby. This is what makes me happy, because it started off as a way for me to, like, for my own mental health. I could get things off my chest. I could talk about, whatever's going on in my life, and just sort of like not a vlog per se, but at least like an audio diary of my thoughts and feelings towards some of the stuff that was going on in my life. And then it turned into, well, I want to make people laugh. So can I actually like formulate concepts and ideas that get people to laugh? So I started doing that. And it hasn't been as consistent as I wanted, as I was expecting it or hoping it to be in the beginning, because COVID made it very easy. Everybody was home. You had a lot of time on your hands. You had nothing else to do. Then the year I started working, obviously I introduced a new responsibility, and that takes up most of your time. So now you don't have time for the promotional side of this. And then I'm a single dad as well. I got 3 kids. I've been raising them for 5 or 6 years. 5 years, like solely. I mean, I've raised them since they were born, but like they've been with me for the last probably about 4 years. Okay. And that takes away a lot of time, and then you don't have time for all the extra shit. So I don't really look at it as I've been doing this for 5 years. If it were a business plan, I've really been doing it for like 2 years, because on my 3rd year, there was like 6 months where I didn't do anything because I was moving and I didn't have time to do this. And then, I've steadily in the last, like in year 3, I was getting settled, and I would have bursts. I would put out a few episodes, but I didn't have the extra time. So I fell out of extra time. Then now, when I'm just coming up to the beginning of year 5, because all our stuff started in August, that's when I started putting more of an effort into learning how to do things better, like correcting the audio. I invested in a microphone. I invested in a good camera. I tried to set up a good lighting setup. I don't know if I achieved it. I'm just doing what I like, and so that's where it was at. And then when I lost my job, right as season 5 started, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do things a different way. I'm going to do some things that I want to do that I haven't been doing. And because I'm just trying to get people to laugh, I decided to take a specific direction with it. And that started to work. So the more time that I've put into, like, I think understanding myself and putting this in perspective, it's actually made the podcast more relatable. Because I think when you start out, or when you're not as consistent, you start you overthink ideas. You're trying to come up with something that's like amazing or out there, or, something nobody's done. Well, everybody's done everything. I was watching a Gary Vee thing today, and like TikTok, and he was saying how everybody wants to be original, but like no one's original. Everybody takes from everybody, right? So, it really put in perspective for me that, like, just do what you were doing. Because the whole point in the beginning was, I'm just going to come talk about my week, the things I've been thinking about. Maybe people will relate to it and find, some kind of connection there, and they'll just enjoy the things. But I'm not necessarily telling, I'm not trying to really, I'll teach you about weed if you want to know about weed. But really, I'm trying to get you to laugh. I'm trying to get you to forget that, Trump is playing a game of Risk in real life. Ugh. I want to get you to forget that, there's other tough things out there. Like, you got to take care of your kids. You got to make money. You got to survive. You got to have a house. There's other things to think about. Take your time, take a break. And then hopefully when you're done that break, you can then go into the thing that you're having to deal with like a better, more refreshed sense of yourself, So that's really where, like, I started with this whole thing. And then I started with like, I could say jokes. I could say funny things. So maybe I'll try and say some funny things. I like weed. Maybe I'll tell people about weed sometimes. And then I got too into it where I was like, why is this not developing to what I think it could be? Right? So like a little bit of delusion, but you have to have some delusion to be able to do something like this and hopefully make it into something, because like it's only delusional if it never works. But if at some point it works, like you're no longer delusional, So, but I think the biggest thing for me in doing this was that I had to take the emphasis off of what I assumed success with it would be. Because realistically, it's been successful in a lot of things, especially recently. It's been successful in gaining, 600 plus followers on Spotify. I've been lucky enough to start to get some traction on YouTube with the shorts. And we're almost up to a couple hundred viewers or subscribers, where up until this point, it would take me like 6 months to get one person to subscribe. So that feels kind of good. So there are wins. The wins are just different than what my expectation was. And I thought that, since it's, we're into year 5, it was time to check in. So there's like a lot of highs and lows to doing something like this and trying to, like, as much as it is a hobby for me, there's still a part of me that thinks like I could get, advertising on here. I could get some kind of income coming from it. Maybe it won't, support my life, but maybe that would be a win too, right? But right now the wins are that people are actually supporting and paying attention and following along. And that feels good. And that's the thing that I like, because you don't have to like me for us to share a moment that I'm trying to just make you laugh, and not every opinion that I have, or not every opinion or everything that I say is, necessarily what I 100% believe. A lot of the time it's because I'm trying to just say the thing that I think will be funny, that'll make you chuckle or make you be like, or maybe sometimes I say stuff that like, I want you to be like, oh, I didn't think of that. Or maybe you do think I'm dumb. But again, if I'm saying something dumb, it's generally because I'm trying to get you to laugh at it. I'm not trying to be serious. And I've noticed that in the attention that I've started to get recently, which again, I appreciate the positive and the negative, because I feel like this positive is great. But after my first 2 years of getting all this positive attention, right, it didn't really help me keep perspective on what I was doing. And then as soon as I started in the last 4 months, when I started posting a specific type of content, because I thought this is more in alignment with like how I act and how I think, right? Then I started to get hate. People making fun of you and all this. I didn't realize this, but I like it. I like it when people like me. And I also like it when people dislike me, because I'm not trying to push your buttons, but the fact that you get so ticked off at me, or you dislike whatever it is that I'm doing so much that you have to make a comment about my weight or how I look or how old I am or out of date, whatever, all you're doing is helping me. And that's the thing that makes me the happiest, because the more that somebody dislikes you and the more that they comment and interact with your videos, they're actually helping you promote. And I don't think that they realize it. I think that they've been overtaken by the anger monkey. And they're just so ticked off at you that all they want to do is tell you how bad you are because they can't do the thing that you're doing, or that they're envious or whatever. So, I don't know. To me, it's kind of funny. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the hate. I appreciate the love. I appreciate all of it. And I've sort of got this new perspective in the end, since the end of 2025, going into this year, 2026, that there's some other things that I should be prioritizing in order to find that and maintain that balance in my life. Yeah, that's what I think. And that's what I've been thinking about the last week or so. And I wanted to try and give it back to, you guys, the people that listen to this and that follow along and, come back and understand what's happening here. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the fact that I have enough, that I feel like I have enough people that enjoy the content that I could keep making it, that I could keep doing it without feeling bogged down. So I just want to say thank you to the people that listen. Thank you for coming back. This episode might have been a little bit boring. I don't know, but I feel like it needed to be said. I feel like I needed to show appreciation for the people that have shown me appreciation. I've got a lot of DMs on Instagram about people they've said that since they've watched the channel that they've learned a lot about weed. They may be new to it, they've learned a lot about it. Other people have told me that some of the stuff I say is funny, and a lot of people have told me how much they hate me and how stupid I am and how fat I am and how I like Batman. And that I'm an old dude being cranky because of my white privilege or that I'm entitled. Dude, I get all kinds of different shit. But I feel like when you start getting the hate, that's when you know that you're making something worthwhile. Because I feel like if you're making something worthwhile and you're making good content, then you don't have to divide people, but you're going to get people that want to tear you down, which to me is like, try it. What are you going to tear down, man? You can't get me because I don't care what you're doing. I care what I'm doing. I care that, I'm doing better every day. I'm doing better than this year's Justin. I want to be better than last year's Justin. My girlfriend has totally impacted we've been together for just over a year and a bit now. She's completely changed my surroundings. She's moved in. She hasn't really moved in, but she spends time here. So she's moved in a lot of her stuff, right? And it's taking over my space. I don't mind it because I have wanted to make all these changes for so long that having her in my life has helped me and pushed me to make and adjust the cleanliness, the tidiness, the comfort that a home should be. So we spent the last week or so organizing pretty much the whole house, all the bedrooms, kitchen, living room. Not that it was overly dirty, but she's been over time doing this. And then we had a big run because I bought a new bed over Christmas, and we were moving my old bed to my daughter's room and then getting rid of my daughter's bed. So a lot of stuff had to be cleaned, like spring cleaning before we moved all this shit, right? So her influence on me now has my room set up so well that if you sit on my bed for a minute, you don't want to leave. I have a bar fridge in my room. Why? Because you might need water. I might need a peanut, So my whole life has been organized, and I know that we did it. She'll say that, oh, but you guys did it. It wasn't me. Without her influence, we never would have done this. And I appreciate it so much. There was some point where over the last month or so, I started to realize that I got away from gratitude. I got away from being appreciative of the things that I have and where I'm at and how I am and who I am, right? So I felt like I had to put this out there so that the people that interact with me, whether it's personally or on this or whatever, I want you to know that I appreciate everything. I appreciate the fact that, you come back for this. I appreciate the fact that my girlfriend has invaded my life and made me change things. They're all changes for the better. I'm so happily content right now with how things are going. The next step is getting that project management degree done, and then we're off to the races, baby. Or certificate. It's not a degree, but it is like it's if you're looking to do something like that, Coursera through Google. Just Google Coursera project management. The course comes up. It's not overly expensive if you think you'd be interested in that. But yeah, that's what I'm happy about right now. I'm happy that I have somebody that's taken and invested an interest in my life and has motivated me to change certain aspects of it for the better. Because I need to feed off people, I guess. I need to feed off. Your energy feeds me, and I appreciate that, and I need that in my life. So with her motivating me to keep my stuff in order like she does, it's very surgical. You go into her house, it's like a OR room, dude. Nothing. It's white. There's not. If you drop anything, you better run. We'll clean it up first, then run. No, she's awesome. She's hugely. She's made a huge impact on my state of home, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys for listening. I appreciate you listening this long. Thank you for joining the sesh with me, Justin Barone. I hope you come back next week, because this is my thoughts off the stem for this week. So I hope you come back next week, and check out tots420.com. If you've made it this far and you enjoyed the talk, don't forget to subscribe, tell people about it. You can follow me on Instagram, Thoughts Off the Stem, TikTok, Thoughts Off the Stem, Twitter, Tots420. I don't really use Twitter though. And where else? Facebook, Thoughts Off the Stem. There's a page. And that's about it. Yeah. So thank you for joining the sesh. I hope you come back next week. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby.